All right, so hi everybody. My name is Miss Carly. For those of you that don't know me, because I know there's a couple new people, so I'm Miss Carly, and this is my presentation, Autism and Me. I can be anything. So I'm here today to tell you about autism. Who can read this number for me?
Good job.
Say it again, Dylan.
1/59.
Thank you. Nice and loud. 1/59. That means 1 out of 59. So 1 out of 59 people. This is 59 dots here. And notice this one red one. That means 1 in all these 59 people have autism. So there's a good chance that some of you know someone with autism. Who knows someone with autism? Raise your hand. Awesome. Awesome. A lot of you know someone with autism. If you did not raise your hand, I saw a couple of you didn't raise your hand. You could have, because I have autism. That's right. I have autism. So because it's what month? What month is it, guys?
April.
April. Awesome. Thank you, Leah. So because it's April, and April is Autism Awareness Month, I want to share a bit about autism and help raise your awareness. So check this out. Kind of pretty. This is the new symbol for autism. So who noticed, how many of you have noticed puzzle pieces around you today? So that's the old symbol for autism. So autism used to be represented by a puzzle piece. And it's not anymore because some autistic people don't like the puzzle piece. It's like they were saying, we're trying to fit into the world, and we don't quite fit in, and they're trying to solve us like a puzzle. And so a lot of autistic people didn't like that. They would rather be represented by this. This means infinity. It means it goes on forever. And it's a rainbow, so it means it's a spectrum. And I'll get more onto that later. What is a spectrum? So first, I want to share a little bit about myself. All right, so I'm a 90s baby. I'm in my 20s. And these are my brothers and sisters. I'm the third out of 7 kids.
Wow.
A lot of kids. And that's my niece and my nephew, my sisters, my brothers, and me. And I'm really into art. I like to make posters and cards and paintings. So I love art.
I have a question already.
Okay.
Aren't you and your one brother twins?
Nope. Nope, no twins. All 7 of us are individual.
I thought you and your brother that listened to the chorus together. I thought you 2 twins.
Nope. That's my baby brother.
Wow.
So a little bit more about me is I'm a Lancer. I used to go to Manchester High School just like you guys. I was a student here. And I went to Liberty University. And a little bit more, I have a boyfriend named Joe. Isn't he so handsome? And then my family has 2 cats named Peppa with her little tongue hanging out. And this is Paula. She loves her neck stitches. And, of course, I have autism. And that's just one part of me. So this is a pretty long word. Can anybody read this word for me?
Discovery.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Discovery. So this is a little bit of my story of how I discovered I have autism. So many boys get diagnosed when they're really little, like 3 or 4 years old. But women don't get diagnosed with autism until they're much older. I was about 18 years old when I was diagnosed with autism. Is there anyone in here that's 18? 18, 20, close to there? Okay. Yep, Brian is. So I was your age when I got diagnosed. So a lot of you guys got diagnosed with your disability when you were really little. But I didn't get diagnosed till I was your age. So this meant I did not get a lot of help in school. Like you guys have Miss Bernie and Miss Jacob and Mr. Jim. You guys have help, but I didn't get any help in school. I had to find my own way and work hard. And in some ways, it made me stronger. I took theater classes, and it taught me how to speak up, because before I was very, very quiet. I could talk, but I chose not to, and that's called selective mutism. Mute meaning quiet. So I was very, very quiet. And I didn't just do theater, I did choir at Lancaster, and I did stage crew too. Hey, Dylan, don't you do stage crew with Mr. Knocknagel? Or you used to at least? Yeah, you used to at least. So I was kind of like Dylan. I did my work in the theater with Mr. Knocknagel. And how many of you have gone to chorus class? Yeah, you've been a few times? Yeah. I was in chorus with Mrs. Kim. So that helped me to make friends with common interests and to have fun and to get to know people, because I felt very, very different from other people. I'd always felt different, but it wasn't until I made a friend with autism that acted a lot like me that I realized, I might have it. I went to my doctor, I took a test, and sure enough, I had autism. I studied to learn more about my new diagnosis, or my discovery. And as I started to study, things made so much sense. I knew I wasn't alone. Reading scientific articles about autism was like reading a book all about me. I wasn't so weird or different after all. I was just autistic. I never had formal help or special classes when I was in elementary to high school. I had to learn from life experience, from friends, and from books on how to behave and fit in. And now that I'm older, I'm discovering how to be myself and not worry so much about fitting in. But I still have to behave appropriately, right? Right. So now that I'm older, I'm fitting in. So autism can make life kind of hard, but it can also make life awesome. It's like some people without autism are just walking up a trail up a hill. They have an easygoing life. But with autism, it's like climbing up the side of a mountain to get to the top. But the hard work is worth it though, because our point of view is pretty great from the top. So, autism is a difference in the brain. So your brain's up there in your noggin, and we have all these different kinds of brains. So some people could have speech delays. They are pretty colors, thank you. So some people could have speech delays. That means that some autistic people can talk, and some autistic people cannot talk. Thank you, Dylan. And so we all communicate in different ways. Through apps. Remember how Jack would use his iPad to talk through the app? Or some people use cue cards or sign language. Some people just talk, but some people don't talk at all. So, you could have poor coordination or how you move your body. Some autistic people are a little clumsy and more clumsy than others, while other autistic people move just fine. So that's another symptom you could have with autism. Another one, who's ever felt like this? Sort of, kind of. Yeah, we felt like this before. So with autism, you could have trouble controlling your emotions. Sometimes people with autism have meltdowns or outbursts where they lose control of how they feel. While others with autism don't understand how other people are feeling, and they're very calm most of the time. But we all have feelings, and we all display them differently.
Right.
All right. And finally, you can have trouble with your social skills and how you interact with people. Sometimes we try really, really hard to fit in when we were born to stand out, like Dr. Seuss says. Thank you. Yes, I agree too. So not fitting in, but standing out. And other people with autism don't care what people think of them at all. So there are a million different ways autism presents itself. We just talked about a few of the symptoms. No two people are exactly alike with autism or in general. So, just like it would be sad to only have one ice cream flavor, it's sad when people think everyone with autism is exactly the same. Every ice cream flavor is different and wonderful. And so are people with autism. Autism is like a piano. If you hit certain notes, it means you have autism. Thank you. But these notes could be played in a million different ways, in a million different songs. There is variety and uniqueness in autism, with all kinds of people. That is what is called a spectrum. Woo, psychedelic. It's not just one or two types of autism. There is autism like a rainbow of a million colors. Every color here represents one person with autism. A spectrum of color, a spectrum of autism. So, I've got, well, otherwise, you're okay.
Okay, try again.
There you go. Thank you, Brian. So, I got some questions before I move on. Are all people with autism exactly the same? No. And autism is a what? It starts with an S. Very good. Who else can shout it out for me? You had it right the first time, Dylan. I'm seeing if anyone else can call it out.
Oh, close.
Leah, do you remember? A close.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dylan. A spectrum. A spectrum means that there's a range. Like a rainbow, a spectrum means there's all kinds of different types of autism. Not just one or two, a spectrum. Lots of kinds. My last question before I move on is, how should we treat somebody with autism? So if you come up to someone and realize they have autism, what should you do? Should you kick them in the shin? No. So what should you do? Be friendly? Edgar, what's something you can do to be nice to somebody? What's that? I'm having trouble hearing you over the fan. Hold hands? Okay.
What would you do if someone has autism?
Wave hello. That's very good. We can wave hello. We can be kind. We can show love. Chloe, yes? Positive pants and positive attitude. I like it.
Good one.
So we should treat someone with autism the way we want to be treated. And we should treat people with autism just like anybody else, with respect, love, and kindness. So lastly, I want to go over what we can be. But first, I want to go over what we aren't with autism. Others often think that people with autism always need help, that they can't do things for themselves, that they're dependent on others all the time. They may think that people with autism don't have feelings, that they may say, we can't do something because you're autistic. Well, that is simply not true. Not true at all. So I want to show you what we can do. And this goes for those with or without autism. So go on ahead. I can do what?
Oh.
What can I do, Brian?
Is he clicking?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, go back one. There we go.
Okay.
So, some people see autism and they think, oh, you always need help. You're drowning and you need help. Well, sometimes we all need a little help, right? But not all the time. Sometimes we can be the helper. So this is a painting of Jesus. Some of us know who Jesus is, but if not, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was a great man who gave good advice and gave kind things to the poor and helped heal people. But he also wasn't just a leader, but a helper. This is a picture of him washing his friend's feet. So Martin Luther King Jr. said, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. So we can be great people, not just because we're great and we're awesome, but because we can be helpers. So we just don't need help. We can be helpers too. So next up, we can learn. Did you know that people used to think people with autism couldn't go to school? That they couldn't learn? Like, what is that? I went through school and college and I have autism. So I can learn and so can you, right? Absolutely. But not only can we learn, we can also teach. I can be a teacher with my unique perspective. I teach class all the time with Miss Bickford. And you can be a teacher too. You have a unique perspective that nobody else has. And so you can teach someone how to build a set. You can teach somebody, Leah, how to dance. Chloe, you can teach somebody how to sing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We all have something that we can teach. Next up, we can create and we can discover. I want to tell you a little bit about somebody named Temple Grandin. Who's heard of Temple Grandin? Awesome. A lot of you. Awesome. So Temple Grandin, yeah, you heard about him, Brian. All right, so Temple Grandin was an awesome lady who discovered that farm animals were feeling really sad and hurt, and they just were not having a good life. So she discovered that. So what did she do? She created inventions that made the cows and animals feel safe and happy. So people with autism can discover new things like science and math. We honestly wouldn't have algebra or geometry without autistic people, I'm just saying. So, but they can also create. They can create music and art and new inventions, all kinds of things. Next up. Whoop, back it up now.
Okay.
One more.
Okay.
There we go.
I went
All right.
crazy. Sorry.
So we can follow. So on this side, we can follow. So it's a good thing to be a follower sometimes, right? We follow our teacher's directions. We follow instructions when we make a recipe. But sometimes you want to be a little different. Sometimes you want to make the path for other people to follow. You want to be a leader. There's all kinds of leaders and politicians and things like that have autism because they have a unique perspective, and so they make a new path. They're like the people in the jungle cutting down the vine, saying, I'm going to make a new path where no one's gone before. That is a leader with autism. Next up. So, if you have autism, you can sit there and do nothing. Oh, life is terrible. Life is awful because I have autism. No. We're not going to do that, right? No way. We can. Who can read this?
Be anything.
Be anything. Say it again. I can be anything. That's right. I can be whatever I want to be because I have the unique perspective to make it happen. Next up.
There we
Got
go.
it. So let's say that one more time. I can be. There you go, Chloe. I love it. Arms up. I can be anything. So, your gifts, your personality, your talents, disability, interests, and even the things you aren't good at, it all comes together to make you who you are. And who you are is amazing, loved, and you can be so many things. What is something you love about yourself? Or what is a talent that you have that you like? For example, I love art. You like what with your parents? Rock and roll. You love rock and roll. What's something else that we love about ourselves?
I love camping.
I love Transformers.
We love camping and Transformers. Those are all unique things about us. What about things about us? Like, I love my brown hair. What's something you love about yourself? You love your style, your glasses. You have a unique perspective with your eyes. Awesome, awesome. So we all can be anything because there's so many unique personalities. We need artists, and we need doctors, and we need teachers. And all those people could have autism. So, next up. So, we're almost done here. So please remember, you can always talk to me because I know how it is to have a disability. You are not alone, and I am here to help you. You and I see the world in an amazing way, and I'm excited to share that world together. So to finish up, I'd like to share a poem that I wrote, written from the perspective of our nonverbal students. As someone with a disability, I wanted to empathize and give voice to the amazing neurodiversity that is the different brains all around me. So I'm going to switch with Brian. Let's give a hand for Brian for being our slideshow person. So from here, I'm just going to press the button just because it's going to be, helps with the rhythm. So. I am speechless. You think I'm lost and must be found. I am speechless, that we have no common ground. I am speechless, and that is all you see, as I'm swallowed by the great big world around me. I am speechless. There are novels on my tongue. I am speechless, with songs yet to be sung. I am speechless, and the journey's just begun. I see beauty where the world has become so numb. Like thunder, it echoes through my mind. Simply magical? Simply a miracle? Like oceans, I fall and rise again. Simply human too. Simply just like you. I try so hard to think like you. Try as I might, it's the one thing I cannot do. So try this once to think like me, and I'll take you to a world that you cannot see. And you'll be speechless. As you open up the door, you'll be speechless. As you see, there's so much more. And you'll be speechless. As at last you'll finally see the great big world right here inside of me. And we'll be speechless. We'll be speechless. Simply speechless. So thank you everybody for the claps and thank you for listening. I feel so respected. So I appreciate that. So now if we have some time for questions. Yeah.
So I think he wanted to know about going to a car dealership, like the patient between you and buying a car.
Sure. I actually just bought a car a couple months ago, and her name is Trish. And because she's a hard worker, she ain't fancy, but she get the job done. And like a certain coworker of ours, I love her to death. Good for her. But so it was a friend of my dad's, and I had worked for years to try to be able to drive. Most people would start to drive when they're 15. I was 27. So it took me a long time to learn how to drive and to have the confidence to not be scared. But I had to put on my brave pants and just do it. And so I got a car, I learned to drive, and I overcame. And now I'm driving to work and doing all that stuff. As far as communication goes, my dad did most of the communication because it was his friend, but they were very nice people who were willing to work with me. So thank you, Dylan.
All right, Haley's got a question. Two.
Okay, so are my brothers and sisters on the autism spectrum? Not quite. So out of the 7 of us, there are 5 of us that have ADHD or ADD, which is like where your attention is kind of all over the place. And then I'm the only one with autism. But 5 of us do have learning disabilities. That's a very good question, Haley. Because there are sometimes it runs in families where I've worked with brothers who both had autism before. Who's next?
Do people make fun of you or would they accept it?
I think the keyword there is, are you talking about bullying, Chloe? Yeah. So I was bullied when I was little because I would sing during class or I would say things that were different than what other people would say. I was also a little bit chunkier. I was a little chunky monkey. So people made fun of me for that too. And eventually, through talking with my mom and my teachers, I ended up being able to eat lunch with friends from other classrooms instead of having to sit with my class that had a lot of bullies in it. And over time, I started to make friends that had common interests, and they wouldn't make fun of me because we were all the same. We all liked anime or we all liked singing. So it was important to find friends who had something in common with
Hey, Edgar. Was school hard or easy?
Ooh, that's a kind of a tough question.
Easy.
So, thank you. There was easy parts like theater and choir and home economics where I loved learning and getting to do hands-on things. I loved working with my hands. But things like math class or English, I used to be in honors English classes and then I got kicked out. And I used to be on track with math and actually ahead in math. And then I got kicked out because I couldn't keep up with the work. But I knew the stuff in my head. I was just terrible at staying organized. So school was hard in that way. I knew the stuff in my brain, and it was easy when it was hands-on work, like making a poster. But when it came to doing the daily work and the homework, that was really hard.
Okay, so another question that is, when you have all these thoughts going on in your brain, is there something that you have learned over the years to calm yourself down or
Yeah, there are a lot of thoughts going in my brain a lot of the time, and they're not always nice ones. So something that I do is I tell somebody that I trust, and I get all those words out of my brain. It could be someone like a therapist or a doctor. It could be someone like a teacher or a best friend. I know I tell Miss Bickford all kinds of things that are going through my mind. And so it's good to get those words out of your brain, and then you're able to focus on other things. And if you don't have someone to talk to, then the best thing you can do probably is to take deep breaths and try to find something to do with your hands, something else to do to keep your mind occupied. But yeah, like a fidget toy or painting or building something. Whoopsies.
That's a funny joke. The prime is that you like being in crowds?
It depends. I have to, I'm going to leave my mask off, but stand way back because it's hard to talk. I have to prepare myself So like today I was kind of nervous to talk in front of a bunch of people. So I took laps to prepare myself, and I talked to my friend Skylar and got myself to feel better. So there's things you can do to prepare for crowds, like wearing noise canceling headphones or wearing tight clothes. I have a tight jacket that I wear, and it makes me feel like I'm getting a hug. Those kind of things can help out a lot. So anything that's sensory, like headphones, clothing, a fidget toy, those things can help when you're in a crowd. But when I have to go into a crowd unexpectedly, it's a little scary, I'm going to admit. It's a little hard. But it's always good to use a buddy. How many of you here use the buddy system? You take a friend with you when you go somewhere, like your mom or your dad. It's when you take a friend with you. So like your mom or your dad when you go out somewhere. Yeah, just like that. You have a buddy with you, and they can help you through it. So that's another thing that you can do to work with crowds.
What's the biggest fear?
Ooh. I'm very scared of heights. I'm scared of tall things. I'm scared I'm going to fall off or something like that. So, like a balcony or like a ledge. And so I had to talk to a special doctor called a therapist and get all my feelings out and get all my fears out. And eventually, or you can talk to your mom or your dad or a teacher. And eventually, I was able to work up the courage. And one day I was walking along in a museum, and I look over and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on a balcony. I'm on a ledge. And I wasn't so scared anymore. So over time, as you talk about your feelings and as you let people know about your fears, they're a lot less scary. If you just keep them to yourself in your head, they kind of build up into a big monster. But if you let them out and talk about it, it's a lot less scary. Oh, is it okay if Mr. Tennessee asks a question? Yeah.
We're saying that the folks smaller than
18.
18. Now, how did you parents deal with for that time? Outburst sometimes, and didn't say that, but I'm quite sure that was work. Am I right?
My mom knew I had autism the entire time. So my mom, when I was really little, knew I had autism, and she fought and she fought and she fought trying to get me diagnosed, and nobody believed her because they thought girls couldn't have autism. Well, guess what? Girls can have autism too. So, yeah, that's right, Chloe. And so anybody can have a disability, whether they're a boy or a girl. So when I went to my mom and asked her, hey, I think I might have autism. My friend and I act a lot alike. I took some tests. I think I might have autism. And she just said, thank God. Finally, somebody understands and believes me. And I was able to get a diagnosis, and my mom had evidence from when I was younger, and I was able to get that diagnosis. So they totally knew. They just couldn't get anyone else to believe them. I think a couple of my students have questions.
Yeah, we came up with them on the fly. Sorry.
Sure.
So Brian shows, he wants to know, was there a feeling of relief when you finally had this answer? Was that an answer, or how did you feel about finding it?
Yeah, when I found out I had autism, and I'd always felt different and kind of weird. Like I knew that there was something kind of off. But when I read the word autism and I read books and scientific articles about autism, like I said earlier, it was like reading a book about myself. And I was relieved because I wasn't alone and I wasn't weird or different. I was just autistic like millions of other people. So it was a huge relief.
And
speak up, Skylar. Was I held back in school? I was not. I was actually put ahead of grade, but then, and I was put in some honors classes, but like I said earlier, I did get taken out of the honors classes because I couldn't keep up with the busy work. Because to me, busy work was like, whatever, I'll take the test. I know this stuff. But you gotta do your work, guys. That's an important part of school. Even if you know it already, or if you don't feel like doing it, you gotta get it done. It's one of those have-to-dos in life. You just gotta do it.
Probably why you're typing so smart, so much.
Yeah. People with autism that are very smart often get labeled a geek or a nerd, but and they get labeled just kind of different, when in reality they still need help. Like, I needed help with my fears, my anxiety. I needed help knowing how to stay organized. I got a buddy in college that would help me out with that. And so I almost failed out of college at one point, but then I got the buddy system with my homework, and I was able to keep up and keep track of it and be able to get through it. So yeah, college was pretty hard without a buddy.
So you were diagnosed in school, your senior year?
I was diagnosed when I was 18, and that was the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college, so my first and second year. Are there any other questions? They can be. Yes, Chloe?
Do you have any pets at your house?
I do. You might have seen those pictures earlier of Peppa and Paula, those two cats. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Sure.
What was you? What would you tell us? I know that how would they getting the help that is available in college?
So I would say don't be afraid to speak up. You have rights, and you have help that's legally available to you. And so I had access to the disability department in college, and they give accommodations for tests and for things like that, and for taking your test outside of class or having it read to you, that sort of thing. But also talking to your professors and teachers and saying, hey, I have a learning disability. Can you please help me succeed? I want to do the best I can in your class. And if you say that to a teacher, they will be so excited. Say, of course, I want to help you succeed. Let's do this together. So don't be afraid to speak up and use the resources that are there, because they are out there. Any other questions?
Oh, question.
Sure.
What advice would you give to
That's gotten recently diagnosed?
Yeah.
Best advice I would give, I would say welcome, congratulations. This is a big journey that's just begun, and there are a lot of people out there that are willing to help you. You just have to do some research, and that there are resources available to you. You just have to be willing to put in a little bit of work, and people will come to meet you where you're at. And you're not weird. You're not crazy. You're not so different after all. You're just autistic. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
All right. Thank you, everybody. All right. Thank you.